1,000 laughs over a weekend as swell. Vail Comedy Festival. Pet an alpaca or hike a trail.
Okay, hey, we're back live from the Vail Comedy Festival. We had a little camera issue. We're on a different camera. We were talking about the Avs game, second show.
The Avs game, yeah. You know, the funny thing is, Mike Glazer, he's my roommate for this thing. He's a big St. Louis Blues fan.
Did you know him before the festival?
I didn't. This is the first time
cool.
I met him. Sweet guy, very funny guy. He's working on I think he's just about to do a one-man show at 2 o'clock today.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting, passionate about comedy and performance. Just like everybody else on this festival, but he's a big. He grew up in St. Louis, and that's who the Avs were playing this weekend.
Little rivalry roommates.
Oh man, no, the Avs won in the last 5 seconds. So it was a big old heartbreak. We had to make sure to pat him on the back.
Where did you watch it?
Get him some drinks. We watched it at Vendettas.
Oh yeah. We had an open mic there yesterday,
which was amazing.
That open mic was really good.
You know, usually an open mic is well.
It's an open mic. Did you hear the story about the? I don't want to actually tell him.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I did. I know what you're talking about.
The refund thing.
I would say to anybody watching, if you're if you want to get a good idea of true comedy, of like what us more kind of professional comedians are presenting in a showcase, it's not what you see at an open mic. The best comics in the world, if you catch them at one of those small open mics, they're going to be working on stuff, and it's not always going to be the best. You know, at the beginning of COVID, there was a Laugh In. I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically just a big Zoom show that was streamed. But they had Ray Romano on it. They had Bill Burr. I mean, just about any big-time comic in 2020 that you could think of. And they were trying to fundraise for touring comedians. They were out of work suddenly because everything was getting shut down. And I remember watching Ray Romano, one of the most successful comics of all time, basically reading through his open mic material, more or less. And it was rough. And the thing is, I mean, he's such a pro. I'm sure when he's done writing it, it's going to be masterful and everything like that. Yeah. But it is always fun to also see guys that are huge crushers while they're working on things. So if you ever go to an open mic, just know it's part of the creative process. Right. It's akin to watching your favorite sports team while they're practicing. So if you go and watch your favorite sports team at a practice, maybe it's not going to be as exciting as right. watching them in an actual game.
So I'll tell the story real quick. Basically, somebody asked for a refund on the first day with their pass, and I was very nice about it. I was like, I'm so sorry, what's going on? And the gentleman said, well, it's not funny. And I was surprised because I'd been to all the shows at that point and they were hilarious. They were like crushing, and not crushing sad. I mean, the comics on stage were crushing. And he said, well, I went to the open mic, and I didn't laugh out loud then. I was laughing on the inside, and I said, well, tell you what, he was about to go into Bridge Street to one of the, the Fiverr, and I said, why don't you check out this show, and we'll talk about it later. We'll see how you're feeling. And so he came out of that show, and he was like, yeah, that was better. And I said, all right, well, are you coming to the next show? And he said, yeah. And I said, all right, let's talk after that show.
Yeah.
And then that was the 7:30 with Usama Siddiqui. And he came out of that one and he was like, this is awesome.
Good.
This is so great.
Yeah.
And then he was at Aviator Nation for the late show that night, which had Hasmin Garza headlining. And
she crushed.
He's like he loves it now. He was at the Kachina show yesterday. Turn that frown upside down. But the open mic yesterday was really good. I like comedy festival open mics.
I do too. I mean, one of the things with open mics, when you're in your hometown, you go to the same open mic every week usually, and you see the same comedians. And you know, a lot of times it's your friends and stuff too, but you kind of tune out because you'll be sitting next to somebody, or you'll be watching somebody on stage, and you've heard their jokes a million times. Yeah. They're not bad or anything like that, but they may be working on a routine that you've heard for several weeks, and you just kind of almost become numb to it. That's the hard thing about comedy, you know? It's like, if you're a musician, you can play one song for 50 years. I mean, if you go see Lynyrd Skynyrd, you know, how long ago did...
the 70s?
It was, 50 years ago that song came out? But if you go see him, that's what everybody wants to hear.
Yeah.
If it's a joke, Unless it's like a great story. I think you get guys like Bert Kreischer where people are like, oh, I want to hear the machine story. But in terms of just like if you're writing jokes and they have a punchline, the surprise is gone once somebody knows what it is. So the second time you hear a joke, it's not quite the same. But what is fun on festivals is you're surrounded by a lot of comics that you don't see every day. And even though you may have a room that's half full of comics like any other open mic, we don't know each other's material the way we do with your hometown guys. So, like you and I were on a comedy festival in South Dakota.
Yeah, Snow Jam Comedy Fest.
And we did a show, or not a show, we did an open mic on the last day. And
that was awesome.
A magic
that's the only reason we have an open mic at this festival. I saw that open mic and I was like, this is so fun. You're exactly right. You get to see fresh material from other comics. And the comics are good too.
Yeah.
Like everybody who got into this festival, Cody included, it was very competitive, very difficult to get in, and so.
Yeah, and it's been.
I mean,
a blast.
yesterday at the open mic, somebody was on James Corden last week, dropped in. Mm-hmm. Been on Stephen Colbert.
Yeah,
and it was kind of cool. He didn't.
Then he went and crushed at a 7:30 show.
Yeah. He was okay at the open mic. You know, he was doing newer stuff, and it
that's
wasn't
the
like
fun of it. It's like, you know, it might have been something he thought of on the airplane
Yeah,
on the way
there was some
here
of it
that he'd
was.
never said out loud in his entire life, and that is the exciting part of it, especially if you get to see some great comics and then to see the evolution of it too. Like if you go to an open mic and you see like him have a rough joke that doesn't quite have the punchline. But then, 3 months from now, he could be on,
do the same,
on
TV maybe,
doing Fallon or something like that, and you're like, wow, he really cleaned that up, and he's killing it.
Yeah.
I think so. When we were in South Dakota and we had that open mic, it was in a magic shop, and if I remember correctly, the magician that owns that place is here this weekend.
Travis Nye is killing it. I haven't seen him perform yet, but I talked to a lot of customers, I guess you'd call them, guests of the festival, and so many people have come up to me and just said that guy is unbelievable. He's unreal.
Yeah.
So he's doing a magic show at Bridge Street Bar today that I think is going to be really good.
Yeah, he's got a great business card. If you meet him, ask for his business card. You don't even have to ask for it; it'll just appear in your wallet. He's
funny.
great. No, this has been.
So all right, so you've been to a bunch of
fests.
festivals. Let's that's a good segue. What's one of your favorite things about comedy festivals?
Comedy festivals, the best part is hanging out with other comics. The shows are great, of course, and I think as an audience member, that's what you're here for. But what we love is getting to connect with other people that share the joy for the craft of comedy, and hearing experiences, hearing how people are struggling or finding success in various areas, be it getting into club cycles, working colleges, trying to latch into social media. We're in this new age where being a comedian without leveraging something like TikTok becomes really hard to promote yourself. So I've had so many conversations about how people are handling things like that over this last weekend, and you get better. You get better every single time you go to a festival, because you realize how much bigger the world is of comedy. Because we've got people from out of the country, and you can get insight on how to make your comedy more universal. So basically, the time that you spend engaging and creating friendships with people from around the country or the world on these festivals is, to me, the best part of all of it. Also, performing. I mean, if you can make people laugh, there's nothing better than that. And I think even folks that aren't comedians, if you're at a party and you say something that gets the room to laugh, be it intentional or not, there's few feelings that feel better than that, just to know that you brought some folks some joy. So you get a packed weekend with several shows to do that. And there's nothing better than that.
Okay, so basically two things, the hang and the shows. So at the Vail Comedy Festival specifically, which is almost wrapped up, how has the hang been? What's been good about it? Could be improved, etc.
Hang's been great. I think in the basement of Aviator Nation last night's about the most fun I've had in comedy in
It was a blast.
years. What a fun time. And just good buds. We got some pictures taken. We had a great time. The George Neat area. Funny thing, I don't know why we were hanging out at this bar. Everybody decided the best place to congregate and stand around was directly in front of the door. So it was a lot of bumping and moving, and then slowly people moved, and I was like, all right, this is good. We have this side room with all these open couches. We could even sit down and talk to each other. But instead, people moved slowly just towards the hallway where the bathroom is, which is an arguably worse place to be standing. But that's been good. I stayed up late talking with Mike Glazer. He's my roommate this weekend. Just about how much joy he gets out of performing.
He's such a nice guy.
Oh yeah,
he's so grateful for everything.
Huge
I love
sweetheart, and a very funny guy. If anybody gets a chance to go see Mike Glazer when he's around, maybe even in Scotland. I think that's one of the places
Edinburgh
he's
coming
he's
up.
heading to.
So that's the hang, and then how have the shows been for you? How many spots have you had so far?
3. The third one's tonight. I hosted a show last night. I was on one of the first shows on Friday, and then
You did a great job, by the way.
Thanks.
I mean, it means so much to when you're running a festival and there are a lot of shows. Having a good host makes a world of difference, because I could just see you knew what you were doing, and I had other emergencies and fires to deal with, and I was just like, that show's gonna run fine. Cody's got it.
You've been busy this weekend. I almost goofed for a second. We have Yoni Heisler. He's a funny comic from Chicago.
Yeah.
Now he's listen. It's a dark room in there. He's a bald guy, and in the back of the room where most of the comics were watching a show, there was another bald gentleman there, just an audience member. He's just there to enjoy comedy. And I tapped him on the shoulder at one point. I was like, "Hey, you're up in 2." And the guy looks over at me and he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "You're up in 2." And I just thought I wasn't saying it loud enough. And I was like, "I don't want to interrupt the show." But I was like, "You." And he's like, "If I'm up in 2, you've got problems." And I looked at the list. I was like, "Do you need to go up later?" And then I looked in the back room. We had a little green room, and it's a fun thing to watch. If you really want to slightly look behind the curtain of what comics do before we go on stage. Sometimes you'll see us pacing through the back of a room, neurotically talking to ourselves. And I looked in the side room, and that's where Yoni was, and I was like, "Oh no." I went and grabbed him. I was like, "Hey, you're up in a couple. What do you want me to say?"
That's great.
But I've seen that audience member several times. I think he's been in most of the shows this weekend.
Nice.
And he was very graceful about being mistaken for
I
other
know
bald
who you're
man.
talking about.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got a couple more questions, and we'll wrap this up. A least favorite thing about a festival?
Yeah, it sounds cliche. Just having to leave. Transportation is I don't like. It's probably one of the biggest blockers for me in enjoying comedy. Is just I don't like being on the road, and I don't mean I don't like. I love being in a place when I'm there.
Yeah.
I don't like driving. I don't like riding in airplanes. I took a bus up here from Union Station, which was like teleporting through a wormhole of one of the roughest spots in Colorado that you could possibly be in, to one of the most beautiful places in all of Colorado that like smells nice, and there's when people sleep outside here, it's like on purpose and stuff.
That's funny. Have you said that on stage?
No,
it's good.
But it's it wasn't a bad ride. I took the bus staying up here, and it was
So you're enjoying Vail?
relatively.
Have you been up here before?
No. You know what? I've lived in Colorado my whole life,
that's
and
great.
we grew up without money. So a place like Vail, we could never really make it up here. It's an investment to be up here. My stepmom, she was a big skier, so when we tried to go skiing, we would go to Glenwood Springs most often. And I got into snowboarding a little bit, but I haven't done that in 12 years probably was the last time I went snowboarding.
Nice. Okay, cool. So and the travel here arguably is one of the not great selling points. It's not easy to get to Vail. You got to fly into Denver. I mean, there is an airport that's closer, but generally you fly into Denver and it's 2 hours to get up to Vail. A lot of comedy festivals, you fly in, you're basically there. I think the counterpoint to that is the travel at the festival. The venues could not be closer to each other.
No, it's great. You can walk everywhere. There's also a bus if you're feeling lazy. That you
free.
can get from one side to the other. It's free. It's like a
Super
mall
nice.
ride. And I will say, you know what? When you're coming up I-70 to get to a place like Vail, it is a beautiful drive.
It is a cool drive.
You can look out the window and
There's
you're in
buffalo
the
off the
mountains,
highway. There's
rivers,
snow-capped. And it's a great time of year, too, because you got the snow, snow-capped. It is green, you know, and the snow is melting, so the river, the creek, it's all like flowing pretty fast, so you got that nice sound.
I just took a trip through the Midwest, and if you're in the Midwest, it's beautiful. You should be happy with where you are. But if you're not, don't go there. No, there's always great bars and stuff out there. But man, we were driving through Wyoming for what felt like an eternity, and it was like when you watch an old cartoon and they're just recycling the background that the Flintstones are running to. That's how it felt like on every road through there, and it's not that way when you're coming up to a beautiful mountain town. So that was refreshing. At least that was refreshing.
Okay, last question off the festival track. Just if you could go back and talk to yourself right when you started comedy, what's one thing you would tell yourself?
Not to take it too seriously. We get caught in, and this is applicable to I think any profession, any hobby.
If you're a brain surgeon, don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. Well, don't.
If you're a death row lawyer, it's not that big a deal. The stakes are low.
Just don't compare yourself to other brain surgeons. Is what I'd say. Because if you decide to start comedy, which if you're inclined to do that, I recommend it. It's a great thing to try, even if it doesn't pan out. But you tend to, in the course of a comedy career, spend way too much time comparing yourself to other folks, where we'll probably have people, even on this festival, that applied for it, and they'll look at the lineup and be like, that guy's on it, I think I'm better than him, or oh man, anyway, I'll be guilty of that sometimes too. We all will be. And then, it was just within recent years that I was able to settle down and be like, just do your thing, be you. It's fine. So if I could go back, I'd tell myself just like, that's what it's about. Just be yourself.
Nice.
Not everything's gonna fall your way, and that's okay. And that doesn't mean that you should stop or get down about it. So, and then you get to do great things like this a lot. So
nice, awesome. All right, well, this has been Cody Ullrich. How do people find you?
You know what? You can find me as Bad Cody Ullrich on Instagram and on Twitter. I gotta get more on the TikToks and the YouTubes and everything like that. You can also catch my musical content on all the major audio streaming services. I perform under the name Paper Shipwrecks. So check out Paper Shipwrecks as well. Yeah.
What genre?
It would be indie rock, basically.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
One man, or do you have a band?
I record everything by myself. I've played in bands in the past, but I finally have a studio space, and this whole thing basically started during COVID.
Yeah.
I needed a creative outlet, and I've released quite a bit of music out there under Paper Shipwrecks.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool. All right, well, this is live from the Vail Comedy Festival. We'll be back in whatever year it is you're watching this, Memorial Day weekend. Check out, look for tickets at vailcomedyfestival.com. He's Cody Ullrich. I'm Mark Masters. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, we're back at live from Vail Comedy Festival. I'm Mark Masters. We got Cody Ullrich here. Am I saying that right? It's not Ullrich, right?
Yeah, it's Ullrich. You got it right.
Ullrich. All right, cool.
I respond to both.
Got the old festival pass for the Vail Comedy Festival. Oh, we both got. He's got the fancy artist one. Look at him, super cool. I only got the staff. Yeah, it's Memorial Day weekend. We're here in Vail, Colorado. How you doing? You having fun?
Yeah.
It's day 3. It's Sunday right now. Sunday morning. It was a late night last night.
Yeah, it was.
A little after party action.
We went
Saw
to
you out having fun.
The George.
They took good care of us.
Yeah.
Just showed your badge. They gave us drink discounts. They were super nice.
Had a blast at Aviator Nation, which I think that's the
show
first
is so
time.
cool, huh?
Yeah, I think that's the first
that
time
venue.
I've said the name of that venue correct, because I kept calling it the Aviation Nation.
Nice little rhyme.
It rhymes, but yeah, I mean, when I was announcing that's where our late night show was, when I was hosting yesterday, I think that's what I said. But everybody got there okay, it seemed like. Yeah, you can get children's jackets for the low price of $650 in there.
It's a pricey place.
But you know what? I'm pretty sure the zippers like on each of those coats are made of like Spanish doubloons. So
They dug them out of a pirate ship.
yeah, they're nice. They are nice.
They are
I
nice.
mean,
It's high quality stuff, and you're really paying for the ambiance. That is a beautiful. It is a cool retail store.
Yeah,
it is really well
It's
designed.
got that kind of retro vibe to it as well. It kind of rainbowy. You know, it reminds me of like the Denver Nuggets
Throwback jerseys.
Yeah, throwback jerseys.
Absolutely. That's a
exactly what it
good. Yeah,
reminds
that's
me
a
of,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we put on a comedy show in this. Why don't you describe that venue from a comedy perspective?
Yeah, it was funny because you go in there and it's dark and they have a lot of mannequins in there.
Yes. During the comedy show, it's dark, not regular retail hours.
Yeah, you can go try clothes on and whatnot, but I found myself pushing through. I'd be like, "Oh, excuse me, you're not a real
person.
human." And then on
And they
the
sneak up
opposite
on
side,
you too.
Oh
You,
yeah,
like turn around.
and I
They're
brush.
so quiet. Those mannequins.
Yeah, and then I brushed past somebody that I assumed was a mannequin. They're like, "Hey, watch it, bub." But no, it's we put a stage in the corner in the front area. What was neat too is yesterday. I don't know if the audio was different, but as I was walking up, we could hear the comedy
Outside in the streets.
Outside in the streets. So I think it got some people to wander in. Al Jackson. He headlined that show.
Secret surprise headliner.
I didn't even know that.
Well kept secret.
Well
kept secret. Colorado guy, you are. You know Al well.
Yeah. It's always good to see Al. Got to catch up with him a little bit after the show. Just a real cool guy, funny guy. Very insightful. If you ever get a chance to listen to him in greater detail outside of the context of comedy, which is always fun. I mean, we got all these comics here. When you see us on stage, we're all hey yucca yucca, knock knock, whatever. But what you'll find too is all these comics that you meet is kind of behind the curtain. There's incredibly intelligent, insightful people. Got people from all different backgrounds as well too. I was listening on a conversation, not eavesdropping or anything, but I was standing in a circle.
You had your boom microphone and headphones about 100 yards away.
Yeah,
just,
like four
just casually listening with my shotgun microphone.
But listening to four people from New York, and I would figure they're like, oh, they all have a similar experience, but they're all from different neighborhoods. So we had some people that are like, Queens is better than Brooklyn and stuff. I've never even been there, so I was just fascinated to see kind of the cultural differences between what we have here in Colorado, where we might be like, Denver versus the Springs or Boulder, whatever, to people that live 4 blocks away from each other that consider themselves so different in those respects. So it's been fun to hang out with people from all around the country, and not only that, but to share the joy of comedy in doing so.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're Denver based right now.
Yeah.
You grew up in Colorado?
Born and raised in Colorado. I was born in Denver, spent most of my life in a place called Centennial, Colorado, which is in the Denver metro
I didn't know that.
area.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just south of Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so...
It's where the Broncos training facility
I mean,
is,
it's
right?
biking distance to yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So,
a little airport there?
Yeah, I think the Avs also practice over there.
Yeah.
It's like
I used to play hockey in an ice rink, actually.
Oh, yeah, really? That's my favorite.
Long time ago.
favorite
Go
sport.
Avs. They won last night, right?
They won 2 nights ago. That was a huge blessing, too, because we... a handful of us during the second show of the weekend, the Avs were playing in an elimination game in the playoffs.